how much is weighing on the race there. I think also you look at the 538 polling, and it is for better intents, all intents and purposes, a dead heat race there. I think they're separated by less than 1 percentage point. And so, listen, there's a huge operation by the Harris campaign there. They have some 50 campaign offices with more than 250 staff across the state. She's really trying to really expand the umbrella and really kind of sway some of these undecided voters, the blue collar voters, and then also the young voters. We saw her in Madison, which is obviously a college town. She's trying to relate to them by talking about, you know, the issues of climate change, the issues of school gun violence, and also really trying to relate to young women voters, which has been a strong point for her on the issue of abortion, telling many of them over and over in these Wisconsin stops that they have less rights than their mothers and grandmothers did.
Alex, talk to us about the early voting numbers so far. Shattering records everywhere. 68 million people already voting in this election.
Yeah, which is a massive amount, right? And we've been tracking these early voting numbers through the University of Florida, and they show some trends, right? The Democrats generally right now outpacing Republicans by a hair, about 2 percentage points, 38 to about 36. And then also there's a correlation along the gender divide, women outvoting men 54% to men in the mid 40s right now. But look, I mean, these can give you kind of an inkling as to where things are headed, but ultimately in this election season, which has been so highly unpredictable, I think it's wise to caution. We don't know what people are actually, or who they're actually casting their ballots for once they're in that ballot box. We just know their affiliations.
I mean, we usually have a much better idea from the polls heading into an election. This is going to be fascinating, to say the least. Beyond that blue wall that we have talked about tonight, talk about the Sun Belt for Harris, how the campaign is feeling about the states there.
Well, the Sun Belt is going to be really critical, but I think these last couple of days, especially if you look at her calendar, you know, it's really going to be the Southeast that she's focused on. Tomorrow, she's got Atlanta. You know, we all say, you know, Georgia on her mind, really. She's got a huge rally in Atlanta. She's got a huge rally in North Carolina. Both of those were states that were integral to Democrats the last couple of elections. Obviously, you know, the Democrats being able to turn Georgia purple, they're hoping to hold on to that. It's going to be a very, very tight race. And you mentioned the early voting in Georgia has been astronomical. Early results are saying that more than 3.5 million folks have already cast their ballot there in the Peach State, which smashes the turnout from 2020 and from 2016. So that's going to be critical. And then we also see her return to Michigan, trying to once again shore up that blue wall.
All right, Alex Perche, thank you. And we have this in tonight. The Justice Department has released now a full list of where federal monitors will be on Election Day to ensure civil rights laws are being observed. This year, they will go to 86 different jurisdictions in 27 states. That's many more than in 2022 in the midterms then, when monitors were sent to 64 jurisdictions in 24 states. But this year, several Republican-led states, including Florida, Arkansas, Missouri, are all opposing monitors inside polling places, citing what they describe as suspicions that the presence of federal monitors could intimidate or otherwise influence voters. With the Secretary of State of Texas tonight posting, quote, "Federal monitors are not permitted in Texas polling locations under state law. Texans can be confident in the state's strong measures to ensure election integrity." And this just in, Louisville, Kentucky Metro Police Officer Brett Hankison on trial for firing 10 shots into the apartment of Breonna Taylor, killing her in March of 2020, has been found guilty by a federal jury of violating her civil rights. Hankison, along with other plainclothes officers, were carrying out a no-knock search warrant looking for drugs they believed had been left in Taylor's apartment by an old boyfriend. But responding to the noise that night was Taylor's boyfriend at the time, Kenneth Walker, who fired an initial shot, mistaking police for intruders. Here in New York City, testimony is underway in a case that has drawn national attention. The former Marine accused in the chokehold death of a disturbed man on the subway. Prosecutors showing the jury police body camera video that they say shows the Marine's indifference to the man who died. ABC senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky with more.
Daniel Penny, a Marine veteran, entering court to the jeers of protesters yelling "Subway Strangler." Their chants reaching the courtroom on the 13th floor, where Penny is standing trial on charges he recklessly put a homeless man in a deadly chokehold aboard a New York City subway car. This video shows Penny restraining Jordan Neely, who prosecutors concede was yelling and making threats, but they say Penny's hold lasted way too long, almost a minute after Neely went limp. Tonight, for the first time, we're seeing police body camera video of the aftermath. Officers approaching Penny as he stands over Neely's body.
Everyone, you came onto the train.
You got anything on him?
What's that?
You got anything on him?
I don't know.
You're my man.
I just put him out.
Police say Neely had nothing in his pockets but a muffin. Prosecutors saying that video is evidence of Penny's indifference and disregard for Neely's basic humanity. But the defense argued Neely was seething and psychotic, so Penny stepped up to protect thy neighbor when Neely advanced toward a bench full of women. All of the jurors ride the subway, Phil. Some said they felt threatened. The challenge for prosecutors is to convince them that what Daniel Penny did was not justified, but in fact was a crime. Phil?
Aaron, thank you. We'll stay in New York City, where Mayor Eric Adams will stand trial on federal corruption charges starting April 21st, 2025, a setback for sure in his bid for re-election. The mayor appeared in court today to face a 5-count indictment alleging he accepted years of luxury travel gifts in exchange for helping the Turkish consulate in Manhattan. His lawyers arguing during the hearing that a bribery charge should be dropped. The judge refused that. The mayor has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Tonight, much of the Northeast is on alert for wildfires. At this hour, a large fire is burning in Morris County, New Jersey, just outside of New York City. Multiple homes have been evacuated. Red flag warnings are posted from Virginia to New York up to Massachusetts. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, authorities sounding the alarm across the Northeast. Record high temperatures and extremely dry conditions fueling intense wildfires, including this one in New Jersey, forcing evacuations about 45 miles west of New York City. The Craigmere Lookout wildfire, scorching more than 115 acres in Rockaway Township, and it's only 10% contained.
It's so dry. It's dry. We need rain bad. These structures are old, and yeah, they can go up like matchsticks.
Authorities say the inferno is threatening 13 structures, at least 8 homes under voluntary evacuation orders.
As a homeowner, about 10 miles up the road, very concerned. Crews
Battling the flames from the ground and in the air. And to the north in Massachusetts, officials say they've seen an unprecedented spike in wildfires, 100 reported in just the past week.
Phil, much of the Northeast is bone dry. For that region in New Jersey, October was the driest month ever, and officials there say there's no end in sight. Phil?
All right, Trevor Ault tonight. Trevor, thank you. There is still much more to get to here on Prime. Lindsay Davis's race to November with Angela Also Brooks, the Maryland Senate candidate hoping to make history on Tuesday. But next, the millions in limbo over DACA and the concern from them about their future as the nation prepares to elect its next president.
I'm hopeful that Congress is still trying to find a solution for it. I hope that, they're not giving up on this pro-immigrant, narrative, because I know that a lot of them have been getting more strict on immigration.
You like watching TV shows
are nearly 500,000 strong. Powerless, though, when it comes to whether or not they'll have their lives turned upside down. That's the reality for the people living in the United States as part of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, commonly known as DACA. They, just like most Americans, are paying very close attention to the upcoming presidential election. ABC's Maria Elena Salinas tells us the story of one man who is hoping he won't be separated from his children like his mother was from him.
5 years ago, my first child, Zoe, was born. I remember holding those tiny hands and feeling like the luckiest man in the world. I also remember my mom telling me that Zoe was born an American citizen, and because of that, she would have a much better life than we did. But with that looming threat of the end of DACA, I am starting to worry that I might not be able to stay in this country and see my children grow.
Angel Reyes Rivas has been writing a
program saying Congress must now decide the fate of the so-called dreamers.
Since 2017, the more than 500,000 people protected under DACA have seen the policy be rescinded, reinstated, and then challenged in court over and over again. 7 years and 2 administrations later, the program is still in jeopardy, and thousands of lives still upended.
I don't really want to think about it, right? Now that I have a wife, I have children, I know I'm going to do my best to provide for them. So it is concerning the possibility of, being separated from them, right? And also it brings me back to what happened with my mom and my brother, right? I don't want them to go through something like that. Like this was when the year that I came, I was 15, my brother was 11, and that's my mom.
Angel has been living in the U.S. for 19 years, more than half of his life. Originally from Peru, he arrived in New York with his mom and his little brother. His mother, a single undocumented mom, wanted to give them a better life until a traffic offense changed everything. Angel's mother was detained and held in the Nassau County Jail.
I was 17 at the time because we didn't know who to call. We didn't know what to do. Our mom got to call us, and she told us that immigration got her case, that she was most likely going to be deported.
Angel's mom was detained for 6 months and ultimately deported back to Peru.
I actually thought that I was going to go back along with my brother, but one of the first things that she asked me was not to come back. She's like, you stay, you're 18, you can go to school. I believe that you can do great things.
With that hope, but no support or immigration status, Angel stayed alone and kept working to support himself and help his mom in Peru, living in limbo until June 15, 2012.
Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization.
The policy, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, known as DACA, protected over 500,000 dreamers brought to the U.S. as minors, shielding them from deportation and allowing them to work legally in the U.S. Recipients were asked to renew their status every 2 years, pass background checks, and pay fees to remain eligible. The policy did not provide them with a path to permanent residency or citizenship.
The first thing that I did, I remember, was calling my mom and telling her, I don't have the fear of being deported anymore. And that certainly changed my life, right? And it made me feel like, okay, I was now integrating myself a little bit more to society.
Angel was able to get a better job and move up in his company. As time passed, he fell in love and got married. And then his life was thrown once again in limbo.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded.
After the Trump administration's attempt to rescind the policy, in 2020, the Supreme Court ruled that the administration had acted improperly in terminating DACA and that the program would remain in place. But a year later, with President Biden in the White House, a judge in Texas ruled the program was illegal, blocking the Department of Homeland Security from approving new DACA applications. Since then, Dreamers have been contending the Texas court in the Fifth Court of Appeals.
When DACA is under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
In early October, the court once again heard arguments in what the Dreamers' attorneys think could be the last hearing in the case.
Texas is arguing that if DACA goes away, that people who have DACA will leave the United States. But that's not consistent with what DACA recipients have said themselves, which is that this is the country they know, this is their country of home, and this is where they plan to stay.
The Fifth Circuit has ruled against DACA in the past, right? We know it's a conservative court, and we know that we don't really expect the best possible scenario.
Meanwhile, Congress has been unable to pass any immigration reform that would grant legal status to DACA recipients like Angel.
I'm hopeful that Congress is still trying to find a solution for it. I hope that, they're not giving up on this pro-immigrant, narrative, because I know that a lot of them have been getting more strict on immigration. But I know a pathway to citizenship is also a way to reform the system and to improve the life of a lot of Americans, right? So I'm hopeful that, they haven't failed yet because they haven't given up, that we will see a solution in the upcoming years.
Hope is what keeps Angel pushing forward in times of fear and uncertainty. Hope that there will be an end to this limbo and that the future will be bright for him and his family.
Well, I want my kids to grow up with a sense of pride in the country that they've been born. As they get older, I want to tell them, you know, you were born in this nation, but it's gotten a lot better, and it's going to keep getting better.
So much at stake in this election, just days away now. Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, Dodgers fans celebrate their World Series win. We're going to take a look at their road to the championship by the numbers.
People love.
It's lunchtime, America, so what are we serving up?
Well, reporting from the Normandy coast for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Nothing like a good parade, especially when you are on the winning side. You are looking at downtown Los Angeles today, the city out celebrating the newly crowned World Series champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. The team finished off the series Wednesday night, defeating the New York Yankees in 5 games. Let's take a look back at this year's Fall Classic by the numbers. It's the 8th World Series title for the Dodgers organization. It's their 2nd in the last 5 seasons. The last one came, you might remember, in the COVID-shortened 2020 season. The Dodgers were down 5 runs in the deciding Game 5 before coming back to win the largest ever comeback in a World Series clinching game. The MVP, first baseman Freddie Freeman, he tied a World Series record with 12 runs batted in, including home runs in each of the first 4 games. These 2024 Dodgers won 98 games in the regular season, the most of any MLB team this year. The front office worked tirelessly to build this team and spent big bucks too, $1.2 billion in the offseason on major free agents. Clearly, it worked out for them. One other note, you may have seen that 34 patch on the Dodgers jerseys. That honors former Dodger pitcher and broadcaster Fernando Valenzuela, who passed away just days before the World Series began. Today, the day of this incredible parade, would have been his 64th birthday. There is still much more to get to here on Prime tonight. In our Race to November series, Lindsay meets up with Maryland Senate candidate Angela Alsobrooks. It's a race that could determine the leadership of the Senate. Voters in 10 states are casting their ballots on issues related to abortion rights. What's at stake here? That's next.